My name is Audrey, I'm 22 years old and I use the implant. I am a student, I'm a theater major, so right now I've spent most of my time in the theater working on shows. I like performing, I like playwriting, I like technical theater. I was on the patch before for about a year, and then I was preparing to go for a year abroad through my school. And I knew I wanted something long-term because I didn't want to have to worry about refilling prescriptions, finding a doctor that I could work with to get my medications while I was abroad. So I just decided I wanted something long-term that I didn't have to think about. So my choices were between the implant and the IUD, and I decided that even though the implant doesn't last as long as the IUD, this sounded more comfortable for the way it was inserted. What I like about the implant is that it's long-term. I also like that my periods are a lot lighter than when I'm not using birth control. It's really nice. I don't have to worry about stopping and starting again, for example. I just always have it whenever I need it, and it's really nice to just have that ready. One thing I dislike about the implant is that my periods actually got more irregular once I started. I usually, instead of bleeding heavily for a week, I might spot for about 2 weeks instead, every 6 weeks instead of every month, which it's inconvenient to have a very long period, but it's light enough and I have very few cramps at this point, so it makes it worth it to me to stay on the implant, despite not always knowing for sure when my next period is. When I was getting ready for the implant, I had an appointment to meet with the doctor and make sure this is the method that I wanted and make sure it was going to be right for me. And then I didn't watch any videos or see any pictures, and I'm very glad I didn't, because since then I've seen pictures and it looks worse than it feels. I had it inserted in a student health center with a doctor who I had worked with before when talking about birth control, so I was familiar with her. She gave me a shot of, some sort of shot that numbed my arm. And it's a quick pinch, but I didn't feel too much. So my implant is right here on my left arm. It's kind of on the inside under the skin right here. And I cannot feel it right now. The only time I can feel it is when I just feel right under the skin right there. And like I said, I actually don't mind being able to feel it like that because I know it hasn't moved. So if someone's thinking about the implant, I would tell them that it's not painful, but you do have to know that it will be in your body, it will be under your skin for a long time. That's something to think about. I would say that it definitely makes your periods easier to deal with as long as you're willing to deal with the fact that they're irregular. It's a trade-off, and for me it was a very good trade-off, but I know some people definitely want regular periods, in which case that might not be the right option for them.